This is Whiskey Royalty.
That's right, this week we're looking at the Suntory Royal Japanese Whiskey. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, I'm the Whiskey Nerd.
I'm Rose, I'm the Whiskey Noob.
And like we said, this week we're looking at the Suntory Royal Whiskey.
Oh, whoa.
So we get it into the glass and I'll tell you a little bit more about it.
Yeah, like that cool looking bottle.
Yeah, so actually there is a story behind the bottle, but I'll get to that in a bit of a minute. This is Suntory's Royal Whiskey. So if you saw our review of the Suntory Old Whiskey,
yes.
I'll put a link to that up there, I'll put a link down below. This is meant to be like their kind of middle of the road whiskey. So they've got their Kabukin, which is like their entry level. They got the Old, which is like their middle road, as they kind of described it. The Kabukin bottle was the one you get like when you start a job. The Suntory Old was maybe when you get a bit of a promotion. And the Royal is the one you drink when you become a manager. Like it is
the boss.
The boss.
Like
it
I'm
is
the
meant
boss
to
of the
be
house.
a bit of a better whiskey. It was introduced, I think, to mark like the 60th anniversary of the Suntory company being created, and it was, I think, the last blended whiskey created by their founder, Shinjiro Torii.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, so there is a bit of like a history behind it, and they put a little bit of care and effort into it, as you described with this bottle.
Yeah.
So the bottle does look cool, but I'll put a picture of the kanji up there, so the Japanese kind of writing language, the kanji symbols.
Yeah.
This is shaped like the symbol for bottle, well, specifically bottle of alcohol. So the sake bottle, so it has this kind of square, there's two lines that come up and then there's a line that goes across it. You'll see it over there, you'll see what I'm talking about. And that's kind of what this is meant to be shaped like.
That's really cool.
So there's a bit of care and a bit of thought went into it. So it has this kind of, just has this kind of nice little, I guess, history behind it.
It also is very cool with like the color of the bottle, because this is a color that you see very often, like this kind of brownish.
It's kind of like, lightly browned glass, so it's not.
Yeah, it gives me kind of like 70s office vibes.
Yeah, because again, it is that, it was meant to be, like I said, in that kind of range where it wasn't like their most premium whiskeys, but it was still like a good level whiskey. It was like at the higher end of their kind of blended whiskeys. Yeah. And it is actually a blended whiskey, yes, but it's blended of entirely Japanese whiskey.
Oh, so is it compliant?
It's compliant with the new rules. Yes, so the new rules basically say that all Japanese whiskey, if you want to call it Japanese whiskey, has to be, I think it's like all the grains have to be mashed and fermented and distilled and aged and everything in Japan, which is kind of standard rules for everywhere around the country, around the world. Because up to now, a lot of Japanese whiskies included some like Scotch whiskey or other whiskies in there to kind of bulk it up. So this is entirely Japanese whiskey.
Cool.
And it comes in at 43% alcohol by volume, which is kind of like the, I guess, standard for Suntory. Yeah. They're kind of like, they have the 40% floor whiskey, but then they also have like that 43%, whereas Irish whiskies go to like 46% now. Yeah. For like the better end of whiskies. It's probably chill filtered. It's probably got a little bit of color added to it. They don't say if it does or doesn't, but it's probably had a little bit of maybe color added to it. There's not a huge amount of information on it. It is a blended whiskey, so it's from their 3 distilleries. Yeah. The Chita, the Hakushu, and the Yamazaki. So the Chita mostly makes grain. The Yamazaki mostly makes this kind of like herbal malty whiskey. And the Hakushu makes kind of almost like smoky, slightly peated whiskey. Okay. So there's going to be some of that in here, probably leaning more towards the grain, a bit of malt, and a bit of that peated malt in there. Okay. So let's go in for the nose.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
And kanpai.
Kanpai.
Yeah,
oh.
It is. Like, we just filmed the review of the Old Whiskey there like 5 or 6 minutes ago.
Definitely different.
This is a lot richer. Whereas that one, I'm not going to go into a full comparison between them, but that one was quite like light and almost like
cake.
Icing sugar kind of cake.
Yeah, this has something else in there.
It's still recognizably from the same distilleries. Like it's got.
I still get a lot of the sweetness.
Oh, it's got a lot of sweetness. Yeah.
It's still very like cake-like.
But it's more caramel, at least for me, more like butterscotch, honeycomb, like a little bit of like that richer.
It's more whiskey forward than cake forward.
Whiskey forward than cake forward. That's a good way of describing it. But yeah, it's got a lot more of that caramelized sugar. Yeah. Whereas the other one was more like that almost unprocessed, like I said, like icing sugar, that kind of vibe. So it has a bit of age related. I'm getting a little bit of honeycomb.
Oh.
A bit of butterscotch, bit of vanilla still there, but again, into that kind of sweet, honeyed, carameled heaviness there. There is
pudding. That's what I was looking for.
Yes, like a thick, like a kind of vanilla pudding.
Yes.
Yes, that kind of caramelized sweetness, caramelized. Yeah, that.
Oh, it's definitely pudding.
Yeah, I'm getting also a little bit of apple. Again, a little red apple.
Okay.
But again, it's almost like you've taken like a red apple, like caramel covered apple. That kind of idea where it's leading with that sweetness, with that caramel, but you got a bit of that kind of appley.
Yeah, I could see a bit of that.
Yeah, but yeah, the pudding, that's definitely vanilla pudding kind of,
Or like a butterscotch
that
pudding.
kind of, where you get into that.
Yeah. I think it's time to try the palate.
Yeah, let's go in for the palate.
Yee, kanpai!
Cheers.
Oh my.
Oh my.
That was different than I was expecting.
Yeah, like it's the spicy. There's a bit of oak. It's more biscuity. Like the nose,
It's
very sweet vanilla pudding, rounded off.
Yeah.
Palate much spicier.
Yeah, I thought I'd be looking forward to having some pudding, some butterscotch pudding.
Like there still is that sweetness.
Yeah.
But it's like much below that spice.
Yeah.
Like on the nose.
It just kind of like flips.
Exactly. It's completely flipped. Like there's much more. There's a bit of pepper spice, bit of oak spice.
I get baking spices.
Baking spices.
Like there's definitely some like nutmeggy kind of vibes in there.
Yeah. I'd say more nutmeg, clove than cinnamon.
Definitely.
That kind of those more like earthy spices.
Yeah, earthy spices for sure, rather than like the, I don't know, sweeter spices perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the second sip, like, it definitely, I'm definitely getting a lot more oak. Almost like a bit of citrus there too, but like...
Oh, I could see that. Like how you put citrus in apple pie.
Yeah, well, there's that bit of citrus, bit of addition, like what do they call, like the dried citrus peel. You know, where you in some fruit cakes and some apple pies, you put in like the dried citrus.
Oh, like on top?
Yeah, or like it goes into the cake sometimes. Maybe you've never had a fruit cake that has a bit of citrus, like
I'm not a fruit cake.
A bit of orange peel in it. We have that kind of it's been cooked. It's not it's not like it's just citrus peel. It's like that cooked. Caramelized, cooked.
I can get the vibes you're going for.
That kind of flavor is coming through. There is a little bit of fruitiness.
Yeah.
Like this probably has a bit of sherry aged single malt in it somewhere.
Oh yeah, get it. The nose for sure.
The nose definitely had a bit of sweetness, and on the palate, a little, not really like raisins and dried raisins, but there's a little bit of fruitiness there.
Yeah.
A little bit that's not just the orchard fruits and apple, like a little bit behind there.
Yeah, I get the same thing.
I'm not getting a huge hit of it.
It's definitely very spicy forward.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a bit more. I think to go back to the old whiskey.
Yeah,
it's a bit more complex.
Yes,
a bit more like it is definitely a bit more of a full flavored whiskey. It's a bit more. I don't want to say demanding, but it has a bit more
like a boss.
Has a bit more weight to it, like a boss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or a wife.
Do you want to go in for the finish?
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Kanpai.
Okay, so on the finish, like up front, obviously you get this big hit of spice.
Yeah.
That spiciness fades pretty quickly.
Yeah, like it doesn't go all the way down, and there's no burn or anything like that. It's just like spicy, and you're like, by the time I could like comprehend the spice, it was gone.
Yeah, because it is only at 43%.
Yeah.
So it's not
fair enough.
Huge and strong.
Yeah.
But definitely, it's clean. Like the bit as I'm talking now, as I'm breathing, the bit of vanilla comes back. But like the spicy is this is gone, but like a little bit of that oak spice is hanging around, like the darker kind of oaky notes.
Oh, it's like it's kind of like cocoa powder, not like the sweet stuff, but like the stuff you like would go put on top of a coffee.
Yeah,
or
like
something.
that kind of earthy note. Yeah, like it's like that dried bit of chocolate, bit of like that kind of note coming through.
Yeah, that's what I get.
I wonder if that's maybe like. There is probably a small amount of peated whiskey in here.
Probably to round it out.
And it's gonna be Japanese peated whiskey, which is likely peated to begin with. So it might be that might be where it's coming through. It's not like a smoky note. Like I'm not really getting any smoke at all.
No.
But it's like it's that rounded out.
Yeah.
Helping those darker notes kind of come up to the front.
Yeah, because like you were saying, it was more complex than the old, so maybe that helps with the complexity.
Yeah, like for me sometimes a little bit of peat addition into a whiskey helps make it a little bit more complex. Like adding a bit of salt to a dish, like it brings out some of the other flavors.
Yeah, it doesn't make it taste salty, it helps.
Yeah, so this way, like a little bit of peat sometimes helps a whiskey like stand out more because you go, I have a contrast almost to the fruity notes that's where I think this is.
I agree with you completely. There's definitely some peat hidden in there to round it out.
Yeah. Now, before we give our final thoughts on this whiskey, if you're new here, scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. We put out whiskey reviews like this every Wednesday, and we put out cocktail recipes featuring whiskey every Friday. So if you want to see those, make sure you scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and leave us a comment and say what kind of whiskeys you'd like to see us review in future. And if there's any cocktails you want to see me make, let me know, because I'm always on the hunt for new recipes. Now, Rose, as to this whiskey, do you like it?
I do like it. But I don't think I need to have an occasion for it, because it's definitely more on the complex side. It's on the spicier side, and I'm more of like a sweet grain kind of whiskey girl. So this is something where if I would drink it, but I'd want to like sip it over a long period of time.
Yeah, I just took another sip of it there. There's definitely some peated whiskey in there. I was looking for the peat smoke, got it. Yeah. It's definitely a sipper of a whiskey.
Yeah, it's a sipper.
It's one where, like, if you saw this at a restaurant, you might get a dram of it at the end of a meal. Yeah. To kind of slow down and enjoy it. You wouldn't be one you just drink loads of it.
Yeah, or you just finished a big project at work that was super stressful, and you want to congratulate everyone, so you all sit down and then you reminisce over how hard the work was, but how you all came through together as a team.
Okay, that's one way of putting it. But yeah, it's definitely I like it.
Yes.
I think I also, if you buy this in Japan, it's not expensive. I know I was saying it's the more expensive, but it's expensive of their kind of still entry level whiskeys. Like Suntory make like the Yamazaki, the Hakushu, the Yamazaki 12 and Hakushu 12, the Hibiki. Those are all like their proper high end, expensive blends and single malts and single grains. This is still on the lower end of price, so it's actually not too expensive in Japan. Yeah. Outside of Japan, very expensive. I can't remember the exact price. I think this was like 4,000 yen or something like that, which translates like 36, 38 euro. Yeah. Which I think is fine. Yeah. I think I've seen it for like 75 euro in Ireland. I think some shops had it like as a special whiskey, like 75. I think I've seen some of them had it for like 100. Would not pay that. No, wouldn't pay that. 36 to 38 to 40.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, enjoyable little whiskey, drinkable little whiskey. One you could, and again, like I said, it's all Japanese whiskey. Yeah. So it's not, so you can bring it out and say, oh, here's a Japanese whiskey that's maybe a little bit more premium. Yeah. But it's actually 100% Japanese whiskey as opposed to some of the others that aren't. Yeah. So I think that's where I leave it. It's a nice little whiskey. If you can get it at recommended price, happy days. Otherwise, maybe not worth that much, because it is just a nice, solid little whiskey.
Agreed.
So I think that's all there is to say about it. Yep. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Sláinte.